All right, how we doing, everyone? My name is Vince Argel, and I'm here to share my leisure service organization project, which is on the National Park Services. All right, so National Park Services is a nonprofit organization, and the whole mission to the organization is to preserve unimpaired land to hopefully inspire future generations to appreciate, respect, and continue on with it. Another big goal or mission for National Park Services is that they want to have national parks available to everyone across the states. This is a hard mission, but they're doing their best. It's hard because it's just not accessible from everywhere. All right, some history on National Park Services. So on March 1st, 1872, the first national park was established, and this is the famous Yellowstone. It's a well-known park. They have a whole TV show about it now. If you haven't watched it, you should. It spreads across Montana and Wyoming. This is the first national park, so they didn't actually have any organizations protecting it. There was no park rangers or anything. And it stayed like this until August 25th, 1916, when President Woodrow Wilson signed an act. And with this act, he created the National Park Services. With this, they gained 34 more parks. So there was now an organization protecting these 35 parks. After that, in 1933, another executive order was signed, and this handed over 56 national monuments. Took this from the Forest Service and also military bases and stuff. With this, they gained 56 more monuments, but they also spread their variety of what they had to offer. So now, not just unimpaired land, but they have historical, scientific, and scenic sites as well. With that spread, it allowed them to gain more parks throughout the years, and they now have over 400 sites. So where can this be found? The headquarters for this organization, because it is federal, is in Washington, D.C. But as I mentioned, they try to have parks all across the states. In this presentation, I will focus on the Pinnacles, which is just 32 miles from San Jose State. And me and my friends decided to take a trip to after I started researching. So some history of the Pinnacles. So basically the Pinnacles is it's a crazy rock formations. They have caves and also cliffs that you could climb. The formation of this started 23 million years ago when multiple volcanoes erupted. With all the lava that flowed down, it slid through the rocks and created what we know as the pinnacles, making many caves, left crazy rock formations that allow climbing and lots of other recreational activities. On the right is two of my friends. They were the first ones to go down in the cave. As you can see, there's a light shining, but without the light, you can't see anything. So kind of scary. Some more history of the park. So the land was originally inhabited by Native Americans, obviously because it's their land hundreds of years ago, but they unfortunately left little documentation. But what historians can tell from the landscape is that they used it for natural resources, not living there, only natural resources. An example of that can be seen on the right. You can't really tell what it is, but it's just a rock that they would grind grains on to create flour, which created those holes, which they called mortars. And to this day, the park still stays close to the tribes by holding events at the park. They just want to stay close to the roots. So some services at the Pinnacles. Really what they have to offer is a hike off the charts, an adventure off the charts, sorry. You can't make any calls. There's no Wi-Fi or service or anything, which is nice. So they offer over 30 miles of different hikes. And along these hikes are crazy views of the rocks that need to be worked for. You can see all these crazy rock formations from hiking, climbing, going through caves, and just taking the view in. On the right is me after we climbed what we thought was a pretty big hill for us. But as you can see, it gets bigger. So for the climbing at the pinnacles, there's 12 defined climbing spots for real climbers, like you see the picture on the left. And there's hookups for it and ropes, so nobody falls, even though you can sign out a form to let people know you are in there if you go alone. And then also along all the trails is little unmarked spots to climb, like you see on the picture of the right, which is my friend. That's more for beginners, and it really made the experience for us. It gave us great views of the rocks. And onto the caves, which was some of our favorite spot of the trip. It made us get real adventurous. So like I said earlier, we had to dive into a dark hole that we didn't know what was in. That's the picture on the right. We were in this cave for probably 10 minutes climbing through. And on the website, the Pinnacles does tell you to bring a flashlight, which we thought was exaggerated, but we listened and we found out was much needed. So yeah, 10 minutes through the cave. This was just one of the caves on a loop trail, and there were several others. This was the shortest one though. All right, so natural recreation at the Pinnacles. Starting with the picture on the left, as we were walking on the trail, I noticed this wall or this rock wall, and it looked a lot like a bouldering wall or a rock climbing wall. So I thought I'd take a picture for the presentation. And as I actually walked up, I could see there was little hookups at the top for people to actually climb and boulder. So real life bouldering wall, which is cool. The picture in the middle is just us getting to one of the spots that we went to climb, which we enjoyed. That's as adventurous as we need to get early. And then the picture all the way on the right is just the head for a climbing trail. Helping the cause. So National Park Services offers several ways for you to get involved. They have internships for students and lots of volunteer opportunities for everyone to help with the environment and the land. And if a person is still interested after all that, there is jobs and career opportunities like I will get into. All right, so now for the job section and careers. So basic jobs are my preferable career. Recreation aides. So there are several different ways one can become a recreational aide. There's many purposes for them, but in this presentation, I'm gonna focus on lifeguards and surf trainers. So these are simple jobs, not really careers like I will get into later. To apply for one of these jobs, one can simply go online and submit an application. Keep in mind, if you do want to apply, you do need to have all the documentation that they ask for. If you are missing something, they will not even move further with your application. What they look for. So evaluations to become a surf trainee or a lifeguard are based on first response, oral communication, public safety and security, and technical competence. So these are 4 of the main things they look for, and I would hope that my lifeguard would have. So much appreciated in National Park Services for that. After hiring process, so this isn't really a career or a forever job. So the pay is around $20, but this is a good way to get your foot in the door with Natural Park Services. If you want to have a career in the future, they really look at this. So becoming a law enforcement officer. So this is my ideal career as a park ranger. So National Park Services hires new park rangers once a year, and not strictly, but they tend to look for a more diverse group of people who are usually underrepresented in law enforcement, which tend to be women and sometimes other races. So National Park Services are also in need of both English and Spanish speakers, strictly both ways. So, and in order to be considered as a candidate, you must put the application in before the deadline. They are very strict on it. There's no exceptions. So what would help the application? Like I stated earlier, having already worked for National Park Services or even another federal agency would really help it, as well as being Veterans Recruitment Application eligible, and being Land Management Workforce Flexibility Act eligible. So these are not the only ways to get hired, but they do look at these and it will help your situation heavily. So what happens if application is accepted? So this process is not as simple as becoming a lifeguard. It takes a lot longer. So every candidate, no matter where you come from or where you're hired onto, they attend a federal law enforcement training center in Georgia. At this center, they complete a ranger specific basic training, as well as land management police training, which both of these together will take around 17 weeks. And during this time, they are paid and housed for free, obviously, and fed. The housing ranges from dorm style to hotels. It won't be a real house, obviously. After the 17 weeks, almost immediately after, there's a mandatory field training and evaluation program. And this will take around 11 weeks, not including travel to get there. Travel to get there depends where you're going. You could be training at where you're hired onto, or you could be somewhere else. It really depends. So pay and benefits. So park rangers have a pay table sort of thing that determines how much they get paid based on their grade and their level in that grade. The grades range from 1 to 10. And the pay ranges from 29,000 to 68,000, which off the bat doesn't sound that intriguing, or it doesn't sound that good to me or anything crazy, especially to raise a kid and family in California, until you hear all the benefits. So the benefits is a long list of stuff, but I'm gonna go over a few of the main ones that I found. So federal student loan repayment. So they help pay off student loans. They also help pay for your training, or they do pay for your training if you want to go back and get more education, because they do want their rangers to be sharp. There's also paid time off for sick family members, which is a big one that not a lot of jobs have. They offer 12 weeks to care for a sick family member, which if you've ever been in that situation is super necessary when you need it. Along with that, there's 11 paid holidays. So definitely a lot of time off paid. Even more benefits. So off the bat, there's good retirement. So, it's federal government. Along with that, there's life, dental, and vision insurance. So they make sure you and your family are taken care of. And they also help with childcare, because that is a burden to handle while you are working, and they know that. So overall, the federal government does as much as it can to ensure these officers are living comfortably to be able to focus on work. Even though the pay is not the greatest, they definitely have its benefits. All right, so thank you for viewing. I hope you learned something about the National Park Services. I hope you learned to appreciate the land more, the unimpaired land, and maybe even visit these parks more. I highly recommend to actually visit the Pinnacles. I'm not lying, it was a nice park. I actually want to go back. So feel free to leave any questions in the comment section. And here's my references. Thanks for viewing.